This is the story of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers Part 4 of 4. Now, where we left off at the end of Part 3, Minfilia of the First Reflection adopted a new identity and a new name, Ryne. Also, the night sky has returned to Amh Areng. Let's get started. With their work done in Amh Areng, the Scions return to the Crystarium. Several of the hero's companions are concerned about the pain he's experiencing from containing extreme levels of corrupted ether. The following morning, the Scions meet in the Ocular.
We're so close now. If we can just take care of this one last warden, we'll rob the Sin Eaters of their final foothold and drive them out of Northrend once and for all.
And in thus delivering the first from destruction, so too shall we unsow the seeds of the 8th umbral calamity.
Emet-selch says, they are all noble heroes, but they are short-sighted and they can't stop the rejoining. He gives a visual demonstration of the ancient past when the world was ending, so his people summoned Zodiark and the planet was saved. But after some time, some feared that Zodiark's power was growing too great, so they created Hydaelyn to keep him in check. After the Great Sundering, everything was split into 14 shards, diluting their existence into weakened forms, but only 3 survived this unsundered, himself one of them.
So, we took it upon ourselves to rejoin the worlds. But in our eagerness and, I confess, our ignorance, we erred and made a useless void of the 13th.
After that, they discovered that a rejoining required a flow of energy between shard and source to maintain balance, thus arriving at their modus operandi. Y'shtola concedes that their workings are logical, but cannot condone the murdering of millions it requires. They banter back and forth a bit, then Lena charges in with urgent news. She says Eulmore is heavily fortifying the city, leading the Scions to believe Vothri may be harboring the Light Warden there. The heroes depart and gather outside Eulmore. Ryne tries to detect the Light Warden's location with her new powers, but she is confused by the auras she sees. On the way to the city, the heroes find the locals totally enthralled with Lord Vothri. Getting closer, Ryne senses something like a Light Warden, but its ether isn't pure. Kai Shear approaches, and the heroes learn he's been spying on Eulmore and informing the Crystarium. After some discussion, Ryne has a shocking discovery about the bread Eulmore has been feeding to people outside around Gatetown.
It's Sin Eater. Meal is made out of Sin Eater.
Over time, this bread renders the people susceptible to Vothri's influence. This enrages the twins, and they call to put an end to Vothri's evil. With no time to spare, the heroes charge into the city. Vothri senses their presence and orders the people to stop them. The hero rushes ahead, and at the top of Eulmore, only Ranjit stands between the hero and Vothri.
Come, let us settle this once and for all.
He defeats Ranjit, then the others catch up and enter Vothri's chamber. Alphinaud demands he answer for his crimes, while Ryne notices that the Light Warden is somehow a man, Vothri himself. Suddenly he sprouts wings and flies off. Alphinaud identifies this floating rock as Mount Gulg, which is out of reach, but says in the meantime the people of Eulmore need help. Ryne finds that her newfound oracle powers can be used to purge Vothri's influence from them. The heroes take some time to tend to the wounded in the city. Then Alphinaud addresses the people, who feel they've just awakened from a bad dream.
Citizens of Eulmore, what I'm about to tell you will come as a shock.
He explains everything, including that Vothri himself is a Sin Eater, and he invites them to begin anew. After a moment, the mood in the room shifts as Eulmoran people offer to help the Scions. Y'shtola asks for ways to reach Mount Gulg, and an elderly woman mentions an abandoned Talos-powered lift, commonly referred to as the Ladder.
You know all about them, don't you, dearest? If anyone can get this lift moving, it's you.
Well, perhaps. But see here.
Dulia brags about her husband's capabilities to the people as he grows increasingly nervous. The latter would take them to the upper regions of Colusia, but they would still have to find a way to reach Mount Gulg. Nevertheless, Alphinaud is moved as the people kick into action. Chai Nuz and the heroes meet at the bottom of the ladder. As laborers make repairs, Emet-selch approaches and tempts the hero to join the Ascian's side.
Should you survive the remaining calamities, you will become our equal. A complete existence in a complete world.
After he leaves, Ardbert approaches and advises the hero not to make a decision that would put him in solitude. The ladder repairs are finished, then the hero rides to the top alongside the twins. At the top, the heroes find that exiles from Eulmore live in this region, including the painter Alfino replaced, having arrived here through a secret tunnel. Later, outside the exile village, Alice and the hero notice that as they get closer to Mount Gulg, they encounter far more Sin Eaters.
If I were Vorthri, the first thing I'd do is surround myself with as many Sin Eaters as I could lay my hands on.
Urianger and the Exarch observe that there are too many Sin Eaters in the sky to approach Mount Gulg by flying, so Y'shtola suggests building a giant Tholls to reach up and grab the floating island. Chai Nuz says it wouldn't be possible without an army of laborers. One by one, the Scions say they can recruit laborers from the respective regions they helped save.
We have friends amongst the miners of Amh Areng. I will go and petition their aid.
From fishers to carpenters, Eulmore is home to all manner of talented folk. I dare say their skills will avail us.
Many among the Knights Blessed are gifted in the arcane arts. I will recruit them to our cause.
Who are you people? And how did you come to have so many friends?
The Scions scatter to begin recruiting, and Chai Nuz is assigned the task of drawing up the plans. The hero spends some time with Chai Nuz at the ladder, giving him words of encouragement. Then he takes Chai Nuz to the village of Eulmoran exiles, and he speaks to the rejected painter. Chai apologizes for having him exiled and explains how things have changed and they must work together against Vorthri. The painter is torn, but decides it's best to put the past aside and work together. He mentions a village of dwarves nearby, who may be able to help acquire the minerals needed for the Talos heart. The hero and the Exarch greet the dwarves, who agree to help after the hero plays a sort of Where's Waldo game. Then the hero escorts them to a cave occupied by rival dwarves, where they sneak in and steal the ore. Back at the dwarf village, the chief is pleased and he supplies the hero with a pile of pickaxes. Returning to the ladder, the hero finds that the twins have recruited a large number of laborers, so he hands out the pickaxes. Next, the hero checks on Y'shtola, who's returned from Raktika, and Chai Nuz. Chai notes that even with the dwarven ore, there isn't enough material for the Talos heart. Thankfully, Runar of the Knights Blessed brought heartstones from his fallen kindred. Urianger and Y'shtola share that they have a backup plan if the hero cannot contain the next Light Warden's ether, but they don't specify any details. As people return to their work, the hero notices that the Exarch is missing, so he searches the area for him. He finds him resting against a rock nearby.
Too much time away from the tower, I fear. It drains me, leaves my body frail and weak.
The Exarch explains that he made himself one with the tower, which greatly lengthens his life, but he becomes weak when he spends time away from it. The two of them rest for a moment together while construction of the Talos finishes. Meanwhile, back at the source, Xenos tells Varys that the Scions are busy on the First, and this is a golden opportunity to defeat the Eorzean Alliance, then defeat the hero alone upon his return. Suddenly, the katana-wielding soldier enters and demands his body back from Elidibus. It turns out that the original Xenos benefited from the experiment where echo powers were stolen from people like Kryl, and he has returned from the dead as this katana-wielding soldier. But Xenos' body is currently possessed by Elidibus, the Ascian, and the original Xenos is demanding his body back. Back on the First.
Word from the Exarch. All is set on his side, and we may proceed when ready. Let us begin. See that everyone is in position.
Here it comes!
As Sin Eaters attempt to destroy the Talos' hand, the Feyfolk and Amaros of Ilmeg join the fight.
We are so very, very sad. You will play with us. Cheer us up again!
This I did not expect. but I will gladly accept their help.
The hero ascends Mount Gulg, killing dozens of Sin Eaters along the way. At the top, he faces a forgiven obscenity barring his path, and he defeats her.
The end is near, my friends. We have found Vauthry's hiding place.
Vauthry insists he's their savior and would bring them peace, but Alphinaud says his actions prove otherwise. At the Crown of the Immaculate, the hero finally confronts Vauthry in his Light Warden form, Innocence. He defeats the final Light Warden at his throne.
Father told me that I am hope. I am righteousness. And I am a god.
Suddenly, the hero is struck with a vision of the past. In this vision, emet-selch is seen talking to Vauthry's parents, offering a gift, making their child half Sin Eater and able to command them. But the vision is interrupted.
Tewel forfend. He cannot contain the light. He's beginning to turn.
The Exarch steps forward, revealing his plan all along, to absorb all the corrupted ether into himself and teleport into the rift in a final act of sacrifice. Then he removes his hood, revealing that he is G'raha Tia, the Allagan Makoti from years ago.
Fare you well, my friend. My inspiration.
Only those who possess the royal eye of the Allagan Imperial line are capable of controlling the Crystal Tower. Such individuals do not exist in the First. You bastard!
Emet-selch mocks the hero for being unable to contain the light and remain himself, then says that he's been working on this rejoining over 100 years by manipulating Ardbert and his companions and creating Lord Vauthry. He tells the hero that by containing this corrupted light, he and his allies will all become Sin Eaters and will feast on the ether of innocence.
Ah, the irony. What Vauthry achieved through bliss, you achieved through despair.
Then he takes the injured Exarch, saying he needs his knowledge, and leaves for the depths of the Tempest. The hero awakens in his room later, and Ardbert fills him in. He says Ryne has done what she can to prevent the hero from becoming a Sin Eater, but it's only a matter of time. Then the hero looks outside and finds that the light has returned.
It's like this all over. The whole of Norvrad is shrouded in light again.
The hero's ether is the cause for this, but only the Scions know this. Somewhat ironically, the hero roams the Crystarium, assuring people that things are going to be okay. One townsperson mentions that they'd love to upgrade the hero's equipment, but they would need a legendary crafter, such as a man named Granault who went missing years ago. Moments later, Ardbert appears to the hero to express sympathy and encourage him. He also believes he still has a part to play.
For what it's worth, I cast my lot with yours.
Then Tewel appears and offers the throne of Ilmeg to the hero, saying he could hide from his troubles there.
What? Don't give me that look. Of course I knew before I asked that you'd never ever heed such a wicked suggestion.
Tewel encourages the hero, then leaves. Next, the hero asks around about the Exarch. Lena tells him that she has a key to his secret chamber called the Umbilicus. The hero decides to check it out, so Lena leads the way. The moment he enters the Umbilicus, he's struck with a vision of the past. In this vision, the Exarch reveals his identity and his story to Urianger. He is G'raha Tia, the Allagan who sealed himself away in the Crystal Tower years ago. But in the future, the 8th Umbral Calamity destroyed the source, and 200 years after that, humanity was on the brink of collapse. But heroes of the time opened the Crystal Tower and awakened G'raha.
By this stage, scholars had largely established the phenomena underpinning the rejoining, and identified the first as the shard which precipitated the 8th Umbral Calamity.
With extraordinary effort, G'raha managed to use the tower to translocate to the first, 100 years before the 8th calamity, so he could determine how to save both worlds. He acknowledges that if they succeed in preventing the 8th calamity, which made him who he is today, he may in fact cease to exist, but he's accepted that with inspiration from the hero. Either way, he plans to die when he absorbs the corrupted ether from all the Light Wardens. Urianger is having his mind blown, but agrees to keep all of this a secret from the others. The vision ends and the hero vows to stop emet-selch. Ardbert explains where the Tempest is.
That's the stormy seas around Calusia to you. His lair must be down there somewhere, hidden beneath the waves.
The hero looks for a way to reach these seas, but he encounters the Scions along the way. Urianger has just revealed everything to the others and apologizes for his secrecy. Ryne tells the hero everything is going to be okay, but this enrages Alice, as she says this is a lie. But they agree to accompany the hero to the Tempest, and a crowd gathers and praises and encourages the hero. Urianger has a plan to get there, but he doesn't explain any details. Instead, he leads the hero to a strange island and asks him to inspect it. The island turns out to be a sleeping primal named Bismarck, and with the help of Tewel, the heroes convince Bismarck to take them to the Tempest.
What the? Do you see that?
Bismarck drops the heroes at the bottom of the ocean and provides them with a massive dome of air so they can walk around and breathe as though they were on land. The heroes set off to find emet-selch. Before long, they encounter the Ondo tribe, who say that after the flood destroyed their homeland, they migrated here to dwell in the existing structures. Y'shtola and the hero observe the ancient buildings here at the bottom of the ocean, and find striking similarities with those in the cave murals at Quatana Revel. Y'shtola surmises that these are, in fact, prehistoric Ascian buildings. Amazingly, they find the legendary craftsman Granault living alone in the area, and he fashions a magnificent lamp for the Ondo tribe. The chieftain says there is a trench in the distance with a whole city of ancient buildings, which was recently illuminated, and they wish to light their new lamp in response.
Might it still be possible to reach this city of the ancients?
I am convinced you are the sign for which we have been waiting. My people will show you the way.
Sometime later,
by the gods!
Y'shtola is particularly struck with the sight.
Everything here pulses with ether. 'Tis an enchantment on a monumental scale.
The heroes explore the metropolis, and the first thing they notice is that all the doors are enormous. They find a strange giant wearing a gray robe, and they ask him a few questions. The giant talks about the final days, and mentions the convocation of 14 who were trying to save the star. After the giant vanishes, the heroes determine that this city, Amh Areng, and its people are all phantoms woven from ether, living in prehistoric times just before the final days and the sundering of the star. They explore and make conversation with more of these giant phantom citizens of Amh Areng. The hero learns that Lahabrea, Elidibus, and emet-selch were all members of the convocation. Y'shtola and Urianger learned that these ancients were capable of creation magics, and they surmise that the summoning of primals is a lesser version of this magic that came about after the sundering. Moments later in a government building, an administrative clerk confirms that the hero's name has been registered as a resident, which gives him access to the capital. While waiting for his turn to be called to receive a pass, one giant turns to the hero and senses that he's from a time beyond their time. Interestingly, this giant is aware of his phantom existence and notes that somehow emet-selch granted him more awareness than the others. His name is Hythlodaeus, and he recounts the final days to the hero. He says half the world's souls were sacrificed to summon Zodiark, who halted the March of Oblivion, and then half of the remaining after that to cleanse the damaged world. But a growing faction of dissidents were unhappy with the sacrifices, and they created Hydaelyn to oppose and balance Zodiark, which led to the sundering, and the rest is history. Hythlodaeus says that emet-selch has carried the burden of restoring Zodiark for many ages, and countless centuries have worn on him. Hythlodaeus also senses Arbert's soul with the hero, and says in the time before the sundering, their two souls were one. After the hero's name is called, Hythlodaeus says goodbye and refers to him as an old friend. The hero gets his pass to the capital and steps outside. Y'shtola concludes that if the Ascians were to complete all their rejoinings and restore Zodiark, they would then sacrifice all the new souls to restore their ancient brethren. Once again, the Scions unanimously resolve to stop emet-selch at any cost, and they enter the capital together. Emet-selch appears and confirms his plan to rejoin all the shards, then sacrifice all the new souls to resurrect his ancient brethren.
For eons have I measured your worth and found you wanting. Too weak and feeble-minded to serve as stewards of any star. How long do you mean to perpetuate this farce? How much more must I endure your bumbling interference? You cannot be entrusted with our legacy.
I will bring back our brethren, our friends, our loved ones. The world belongs to us, and us alone.
Alphinaud steps forward and says he understands why emet-selch fights for his loved ones, but they are in the past, while the heroes are in the present, and they will not abandon their course.
Then come. Earn your place. Prove yourselves worthy to inherit this star.
Emet-selch dares them to enter Amarat during the final days. They accept the challenge and fight their way through Amarat, set ablaze and brimming with abominations. At the pinnacle of the city, they confront a titanic abomination named Therion and defeat it.
Well, well, you prevailed.
He knocks out all of the Scions except the hero, then says against his full might the hero would falter.
For we who have known perfection, the shattered source and these shards are ghastly mockeries of the true world.
The hero is struck with intense pain from the corrupted light he contains, then Ardbert appears.
Take it. We fight as one. This world is not yours to end.
No, it can't be.
Then the Crystal Exarch rises up against emet-selch.
Champions from beyond the rift, heed my call!
Damn you all!
Emet-selch morphs into his purest form, Hades, the one who awakens his brethren from slumber. At the dying gasp, the hero faces Hades, and against all odds, defeats him once and for all.
Enough, damn you!
With White Orosite, a blast of ether, and Ardbert's etheric weapon, the Ascian is put to an end.
Remember. Remember us. Remember that we once lived.
After the dust settles, Y'shtola and Ryne note that the hero's joint strike with Ardbert spent the corrupted ether and purified his soul. Back in Clusia, the citizens of Eulmore wait for the return of the heroes.
They are coming back, aren't they? I couldn't bear the thought of...
There, look, over there, over the beach!
As the heroes wash ashore one by one, they realize the first has been saved. Later at the Crystarium, the Exarch confesses he did not expect to survive, and with his death he expected the Scions' souls to be returned to the source, but he lives and the Scions remain stuck here. They respond that they will find another way, they aren't concerned, and the hero can still traverse the rift so he can report back to Tataru.
I'm a little relieved, to be honest. I would have been terribly lonely if everyone had suddenly disappeared.
Meanwhile, in Garlemald, Estinian and Gaius infiltrate the palace only to find many of the guards already slaughtered. They rush to the throne room and find that Xenos has murdered his father, Emperor Varus. He says the Ascian gave him his body back.
The Craven shed this skin and fled, rather than face me. A pity. I was looking forward to crossing blades with myself.
Before dying, Varus confirms what Xenos says is true. Xenos is now Emperor, but he cares nothing for the Empire whatsoever. All he desires is to face his prey, the hero. The hero returns to the Rising Stones and meets with Tataru. She's ecstatic to see him, and she notes that the other Scions are still in coma-like states. Elidibus stands alone, the sole remaining unsundered soul, and ponders his next move. Back on the First, Thancred and Ryne gaze over the vast emptiness beyond the flood and resolve to explore and reclaim it. And that's the end of the story of Shadowbringers. If you want to see what happens next, check out the story video for patch 5.1. See you next time.